This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Just sometimes unbearable how much it costs to get the degree.
Many jobs require a college degree, but what's the future for those forced to take out thousands of dollars in student loans to get an education? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the student debt crisis coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin in Manatee County, where the sheriff's office is investigating a murder. A body was found this afternoon in a car in a parking lot at a business on US 41 in Bradenton. There were reports of shots fired around 2 this afternoon. When deputies arrived, they discovered a man dead at what appears to be a limo business. A suspect was arrested shortly afterwards.
We know that the person who shot the person, they knew one another. We assume they did, and we're being told they did. And there was some sort of a disagreement, and then the shooting. And again, we're just trying to find out exactly what happened.
We'll have the latest developments coming up at 11. A Sarasota parent is facing felony charges after allegedly stealing thousands of dollars from a PTO at Southside Elementary School. Tiffany Donovan was arrested and charged on Wednesday with fraud. A Sarasota police investigation revealed Donovan deposited over $7,000 in PTO checks into a personal account between July and December of last year.
It was shocking and very sad. We'd hoped the outcome would be different and that there was just a bookkeeping error.
Donovan is out on bond, but police say there could be more charges pending. Sarasota police need your help identifying 2 armed robbery suspects who demanded money from employees at a Walgreens last night. The 2 suspects entered the Walgreens wearing all black, masks, and armed with handguns. They demanded money from the cash register and fled on foot. Anyone with any information is asked to call police at the number on your screen. A man charged with robbing a credit union in Sarasota is being sentenced to 15 years in prison. 36-year-old Avery Williams pleaded no contest to the charges. Williams reportedly robbed the Florida Central Credit Union on Cattleman Road in May. While Williams was trying to get away, a dye pack hidden inside the stolen money bag exploded. Nearby residents in a neighborhood say Williams called deputies. Williams confessed to the crime along with a half a dozen other bank robberies in 3 states. As the start of the new school year approaches, districts are still unclear how to handle medical marijuana on school property. The confusion, the result of conflicts between Florida and federal law. Manatee County schools are going to treat it on a case-by-case basis. Districts say it is hard to designate school personnel to aid students with the way the state law stands right now. There is also the issue of drug-free zones.
It would be on a case-by-case basis, but legally, at this point in time, there is a conflict, so the district is looking to the Department of Education for guidance, as well as other districts throughout the state of Florida.
If districts decide to change policy, it would take at least a month to implement. New complaints are being filed by Lakewood Ranch residents about property erosion from the Braden River. Erosion has been an issue in the Summerfield Bluffs neighborhood for years. The backyards of homes off of River Bluffs Circle are sinking the closer they are to the Braden River. Lakewood Ranch says it is doing what it can to help, including reaching out to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Well, the board does want the residents to know that they're looking into this, that they are concerned, and depending on what they're allowed through the special purpose government jurisdictions they have, they'll try and help as they can.
At least a half a dozen homes are affected. The smoldering feud between Florida firefighters and Governor Rick Scott continues. It is a battle over Scott's 2015 veto of pay raises for state firefighters. The issue will be decided by the state Supreme Court following a decision by an appeals court. Scott acted within his authority. Firefighters believe the veto violates collective bargaining rights. If firefighters win, it would mean a $2,000 a year raise. Bob, I've seen the radar and I don't like what I see.
Yeah, there's some showers around, but the good news is they're not that intense right now. What we're looking at, though, is a very hot day today with the heat index up to 100 to 106 degrees at times. So even though you see the rain, it may not be agreeable with you. We are cooling down as a result of it, so that's a good sign. We had some big gusts, too, wind gusts up near Fort DeSoto and near Pinellas County. Wind gusts as high as 40 to 50 miles an hour. Most of the rain is gone here. It was around, though. It looked rather intense earlier. See that line with some lightning occurring just about 15 miles offshore of Longboat Key and Leda. Then all of a sudden, it kind of falls apart, and they get a little bit of rain. We had a little bit of rain on Siesta Key, downtown Sarasota. A brief shower on Longboat Key, but not much. Temperature 76 in Orlando. It's cool there, but the heat index, it feels like 103 in Key West. The feels like temperature is 105 in Punta Gorda and 105 in Mayaca City. Elsewhere, not a problem. In the low 90s, that's pretty much where the temperatures are. Currently at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, it's cooled down to 84, and the dew point is at 70. Humidity at 63%. Winds are calm, and the pressure 30-11. That continues to rise. The heat index at 4 p.m. today was 106 degrees at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, so it's cooled off quite nicely. You can see that dry air over South Florida and throughout the Bahamas, stretching all the way down to Puerto Rico. All that dry air is going to slide in, it looks like, on Friday. And with that in place, our showers and thunderstorms will be limited, similar to what we saw today, but a little more so tomorrow. We are watching an area of disturbed weather in the eastern Caribbean and out in the Atlantic. Now that may be of concern, more so than the radar this evening. We are looking at that. We're going to update you on that, where we think those may be heading, Alan, and what that may entail for us later on down the road.
Hopefully it will mean nothing.
That's right. That's what I like. That's where I like it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, millions of students currently have student loans debt totaling over $1 trillion. The looming student loan crisis after the break.
Once you get atrial fibrillation, you need to have a very close relationship with your primary doctor. Prevention is the whole ball game here, because once you have a stroke, you can't undo it. A year without stroke is a year that you can enjoy doing the things that you've worked all your life to finally get to do. You took care of yourself. You did what is necessary for you to be around one more year. And then next year, we'll celebrate one more year without a stroke.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-652-3012. That's 1-800-652-3012. Call now, 1-800-652-3012. For a free brochure, call 1-800-652-3012.
Looking for something fun to do on a Friday night? Then come to Music on Main, the first Friday of every month at Lakewood Ranch. Enjoy free live music, dancing, great food, and lots of fun for every family member, even the furry ones. Meet up with friends, enjoy activities for the kids, or make it a special date night. And be sure to stop by the ABC7 booth and say hello. Mark your calendars for Music on Main, first Friday of the month, 6 to 9 at Lakewood Ranch. Brought to you by ABC7 and these sponsors.
About every 3 minutes in America, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Light the Night brings together survivors and supporters to bring light to the darkness of cancer and to help fund life-saving research. Our goal is a world without blood cancers, and we're lighting the path to cures. The discoveries made in blood cancer research have led to breakthrough treatments for many cancers and other serious diseases. Help defeat the darkness of cancer. Join Light the Night today.
Start your day with a new Good Morning Suncoast team. Weekdays starting at 5 a.m.
If you're a college student or parent of a college student with student loans, this story is of interest to you. If you have no student debt and don't think you need to worry about the issue, think again. Kate Flexter joins us with more. Kate.
Well, thanks, Alan. The president of the New York Federal Reserve says high levels of student debt are a headwind to economic activity. The question is how strong that headwind could be and what it might mean for our economy.
Graduation is in sight for USF student Louis Carey, but he took out $20,000 in student loans just to get there, and that's with help from his parents.
It's sometimes unbearable how much it costs to get the degree.
Unbearable or not, Carey says he didn't have a choice. He worked several jobs while going to school just to make it happen.
When you try to enter the job market, if you don't have your degree, you're going to be taken off the list of possible candidates.
Millions of students are buried under much more debt than Carey. In America, 44 million people have student debt, and the National Student Loan Data System reports $1.4 trillion in outstanding federal student loans.
The reality is that the majority of people in the United States cannot afford out of pocket 4 years of a college education.
Jacob Harding is the co-director of college counseling at the Out of Door Academy in Lakewood Ranch, sending students to colleges and universities across the country. Counselors actually limit students to about $30,000 in loans when choosing a school. That's the most you can take out in federal loans.
Going to college is always a better bet than not going to college, but there's an asterisk, and that asterisk is what will be the debt you incur.
But federal loans aren't the only option. A lot of students turn to private banks offering loans with high interest rates. Plus, the cost of education continues to rise. Tuition went up 9% at four-year state institutions from 2016 to 2017, and 13% at private colleges. The hike in tuition comes as schools are adding administrators to build and promote their brand, while building expensive, state-of-the-art facilities to attract students. It's part of what Harding calls an all-out arms race.
Until we decide as an institutionally say that's not what college is about, let's take some steps back. The cost isn't going to go anywhere. It's still going to be just as high.
It's a phenomenon that's leaving millions crippled with debt. An economist speculating this could be the next financial crisis or bubble. USF economics instructor Michael Snipes says it's possible.
As more and more students take on more and more debt, it becomes a bigger question, a bigger problem, how they're going to pay for that debt.
It's a crisis, says Snipes, causing ripple effects through our economy, forcing graduates to delay home ownership, car ownership, and just about any sort of significant spending. But Snipes points to one fundamental difference between the housing crisis and the student debt crisis.
And the primary difference is that student loan debt you can't declare bankruptcy on, something that they're stuck with for life.
For Carey, the only choice is to chip away at what's left of his debt. But he hopes to see universities and colleges operate less like businesses and more like educational institutions.
I hope to see colleges being more reasonable, only because the debt that they're putting people in is just very difficult for people to actually go ahead and better their lives and the lives of their children.
If you visit any college's website, you can find what's called a net price calculator that will determine just how much college will cost you.
Kate, thank you. Coming up, a student loan debt counselor, an economist, and the debate about an oncoming crisis when we take it to the trapezoid.
This is important news for women who were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and then suffered permanent hair loss. Some women administered the breast cancer chemotherapy drug Taxotere have suffered from permanent hair loss on scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. If you suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy for breast cancer, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Consumer Cellular makes it easy to stay in touch with family and stay within our budget.
Now our cell phone bill is only a fraction of what it used to be.
Our average customers get everything they need for about $25 a month, and plans start at only $10 a month with no contracts.
Consumer Cellular has a great choice of phones. Check out my new one. I picked this simple phone.
I use my son's old smartphone. Kept my number, too.
Consumer Cellular has been an approved AARP provider since 2008, and members get exclusive discounts.
It's a good thing Consumer Cellular is always there, because sometimes I need a little help. Sometimes.
We're proud to have received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service among non-contract wireless providers.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of change. We actually use change.
Luckily, there are some things we can still afford.
Like Consumer Cellular.
Stop paying too much for wireless service. Switch now, and for a limited time, get a $20 credit on any new line of service. Call 1-800-920-3084. Go online or visit a Target store today.
My name is Stephen Jaffe. The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling. and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. If you're a parent, you dream to send your kids off to college. For a lot of families, the 2008 economic collapse turned that dream into a nightmare. The savings of many families were wiped out, resulting in student loans as the only way to send kids off to college. As Kate Flexter just reported, there are $1.4 trillion in outstanding student loans. 44 million Americans have student debt, and good-paying jobs that pay good salaries to pay off those loans are hard to find. Joining us for more is Jacob Harding, Director of College Counseling at the Out of Door Academy, Professor Michael Snipes, an economics instructor at USF Sarasota Manatee, and Susan Nylon of Nylon Associates. And Susan, we invited you here tonight because not only are you going to law school and taking out student loans, your son is about to go off to Eckerd College, I believe.
Yeah, so I know student loans very well. In fact, I do my best not to think about the surmounting responsibility that we've taken on. But yeah, he's leaving for Eckerd in a week, as a matter of fact.
And my son is leaving for Fairleigh Dickinson University in just a couple of weeks. So these are issues that are near and dear to many of our hearts. And Michael, are we correct to say that, again, because of that economic collapse in 2008 that we all talk about, many families did try to save, but they were so devastated by what happened. It put a lot of people back.
Sure, lots and lots of people throughout 2008, 2009 just had their savings just completely wiped out, and that could include savings for college. Any kind of tax-free account that you might have had, that can get wiped out. Any savings that you might have had in a checking or savings account, that could have gotten wiped out, or any kind of stocks or bonds that you had. Some of that value could have gotten wiped out too. And so,
Jacob, how many people, parents, students who go to Out of Door Academy found themselves right in that position?
So while we're fortunate because we're a private school, we do have quite a few families that have need issues, right? As I said prior, $250,000 is not something that most families, even those in the upper middle class, can afford out of pocket, right? So I would say half of our students, that is the primary concern when looking at colleges, is how much is this going to cost? Can I afford this opportunity? And that's something that we as counselors have to be very aware of.
I would imagine people watching us right now can be split into at least two different categories. The people who know exactly what we're talking about, and the people who say, they've been very successful in life, their kids are getting to school fine or have already been in school, and that if you can't afford it, don't go there.
That sounds good on the surface, but really kind of the reality facing most people is that if you don't have a college degree, that's going to really limit your income potential, and that's really going to limit the options that you have for your life, the options that you have for your future. So even though it sounds good, it doesn't necessarily reflect reality.
But there are also people who are watching this who say, when I went to school many years ago, I worked until 2 o'clock in the morning. I made those sacrifices. I worked around the clock. What was good for me would be good for you.
And I could say I did the same thing. In my undergraduate, I worked a 40-hour-a-week job, and I paid for the whole thing myself. And even with that, I still had 10 years after of a college loan, and I didn't have that great of a debt at that point in time. But what I also did is I missed out on a lot of the opportunities that I could have had through college because I was literally working all the time. You finish class and you get on the bus or you get on the train and you go right into work, and you miss all the other wonderful things that you have. And I'm not talking about partying, but I'm just talking about building relationships, networking, making connections. It's not a solution, it's just a necessity.
That's a good place to pause this conversation. I want to talk about what we're talking about in terms of the bubble or the pending crisis in our next segment. Our conversation is just getting started, and we'll have more right after we check the weather.
Attention blood thinner users. If your loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. The widely prescribed blood thinners Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to a number of dangerous side effects, including internal bleeding, gastrointestinal bleeding, kidney bleeding, stroke, brain hemorrhaging, and even death. If you or a loved one suffered any of these injuries after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call right now. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Thousands of blood thinner users may have been exposed to serious risk by these dangerous medications. If you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. Call Nightline Legal to speak with an experienced attorney for a free consultation. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait. Call right now.
Call 1-800-554-3987. Again, that's 1-800-554-3987.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us fly! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Our conversation about the pending student loan crisis continues in a moment, right after we check the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrington. Bob.
Alan, taking a look at the actually, this is the tower cam from the Van Wezel webcam looking out over Sarasota Bay. We'll look at the radar in a minute, but you can see clouds increasing, a little bit of rain on the lens there, then briefly, and then it's over. But it did do enough to cool us down, just enough. The heat index prior to that rain moving in was 106. The rain is very heavy to the north of us right now. We see a line of storms well offshore. Some showers were approaching earlier. Those have since moved on for the most part. Not much left out there. Just a little light rain north of Manatee County into Pinellas County, but a few spotty showers, Hardy, DeSoto County, and into Highlands County. The storms were around, but then they quickly moved into the east and northeast and just kind of kicked out of here. Not much accumulation at all as it made its way through. And it looks as though we'll see similar conditions tomorrow. Very dry air set to move in. You can see it all covering right here from Puerto Rico through Haiti, all the way through Cuba and the Bahamas. That dry air will spread right on into us and move this moisture in front of boundary well to the north. Currently, we have some clouds and 84 degrees. The dew point temperature is at 70, and the winds are calm. The pressure 30-11. It's high, and it continues to rise slightly. The high temperature today was 1 degree above average. The low this morning was right at it, 75 degrees, and no measurable precipitation at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport today. We're doing good on both fronts, on the monthly total as well as the yearly total. We're not too far off the average. 78 in Jacksonville, it's 76 in Orlando, so it's cool down there. Still hot in Miami and Key West, upper 80s, and we're expecting tomorrow not much rain at all. The rain chance at 10%. As a result of that drier air moving in, temperatures will be in the low 90s, and we can expect the heat index getting close to 100. Well, I mentioned it earlier, in the tropics, we're watching two separate areas right now. One in the eastern Caribbean, that has a chance of developing, not much, and then another one looking a little healthier on the satellite imagery. We have a lot more storminess associated with it. And in fact, the Hurricane Center is giving this one a 70% chance of developing over the next 5 days. So fairly certain this will more than likely be our next storm, by the way, which is Franklin. Franklin's the next name. And disturbance number 2 in the Eastern Caribbean only has a 20% chance over the next 5 days. Even if it were to develop, it doesn't appear that it's going to have an impact on Florida, as it will pass to our south and eventually off toward Texas and Mexico. At least that's the thinking right now. Really hard telling since there is no area of low pressure quite yet. But this one bears watching. This is one of those storms that will march across the very warm waters of the Atlantic and eventually get in possibly into the Caribbean, and things could improve as far as conditions go for this to develop and strengthen. So we'll have a long way to go. 5 days, next Tuesday, it should be east of the islands there. Well, the forecast tonight calling for more of the clouds and showers to our north tonight and tomorrow. Look at all the sunshine covering most of the peninsula. As we move through time, though, on into Saturday, we start to see an increase in moisture, a chance for a few coastal showers in the morning, and then that rain chance increases to about 40% in the afternoon. So the weekend, we'll see some scattered storms back into play. For boaters, winds out of the southeast turning to the southwest, seas running less than 2 feet. A light chop out there, and the water temperature 88 degrees. High tide upcoming just after midnight, and a high tide again tomorrow morning at 10:30, sunset at 8:17. Scattered showers with about a 20% chance in there. A few thunderstorms mainly to our north, 78 for a low. Partly cloudy, hot and humid. The rain chance very small, and 90 for a high. The extended forecast does call for a little bit better chance to rain on Saturday as opposed to Sunday. And then we're back into those afternoon and evening storms come Monday. Alan will be back with his panel right after this. Stick around.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Welcome back. 44 million Americans have student loan debt. Americans owe $1.4 trillion in outstanding student debt. Joining us for more is Jacob Harding, Director of College Counseling at the Out of Door Academy, Professor Michael Snipes, an economics instructor at USF Sarasota Manatee, and Susan Nylon of Nylon Associates. So when we talk about the looming student loan crisis, Michael, what exactly are we talking about?
Well, generally speaking, what we're talking about is on average, we have students graduating with about $30,000 in debt. And when you give somebody, just going out, starting their career, typically starting the career at lower salaries, and right off the bat, they're $30,000 in the hole. That's going to make purchasing things later on down the road that could potentially grow the economy, like buying a house, buying a car, and some of the bigger purchases like that. That's going to make those kind of purchases, those big ticket purchases, a lot more difficult to do because we're already starting on average. For some people, it might be a lot more.
So what is the potential impact on the greater economy?
On the greater economy, well, one thing that we do need to keep in mind, and that was mentioned in the piece earlier, is that you can't really declare bankruptcy on student loan debt. And that's kind of the primary difference between that kind of debt and any other kind of debt. And so if you come into a place where you can't make your student loan payments, you're going to have to make sacrifices in other places. And it's those sacrifices, be it maybe cutting back on housing, that could drag the economy down, because consumer spending is such a large part of the economy. If people are taking money that could be used to make a down payment on a house or a down payment on a car, and instead that money is getting shifted towards, in a lot of cases, just paying interest, not even necessarily paying the principal, that's something that could drag the economy down, could slow growth, because a lot of that's not necessarily going to other consumption that would otherwise occur.
Of course, this has become a major political issue, and if you remember, Susan, during the presidential campaign, Bernie Sanders made it a cornerstone of his presidential campaign, basically proposing free college, which, many folks on the other side would say that is totally impractical, but it is something that is the Congress dealing with in any way, or have they just basically turned a blind eye so far?
Well, I'd say with all the other things that are going on right now, free college degrees aren't on the tip of their tongue anymore. However, I think it's short-sighted. There are 4.7 million borrowers that are that have defaulted on their loans at least 90 days, if not more. 4.7 million people aren't paying their college loans. So you want to talk about a potential bubble or a potential crisis, that is something that if we don't pay attention to, if we can't figure out some kind of program to help people pay off their debt, because, very much like what was just said, it's not that they don't want to pay off their debt, it's that they can't. Maybe the job wasn't there that they thought, or they just don't have the cost.
And short of what Bernie Sanders has proposed, the issue before Congress right now that Republicans and Democrats have at least talked about is giving students the ability to restructure that debt, but still nothing has been done about that as of yet. And I would imagine that's very frustrating to folks out there who kind of need that kind of help.
Yeah, and I think so. One of the biggest things we can do, right, to help ourselves, so that the public can help themselves and be educated consumers, is to take a deeper dig into what the costs are going to be. Use that cost calculator that was talked about prior, right? Go to the White House has a great website, College Scorecard, that talks about how many students from a school default on their loans on average. What is the average earning potential out of a certain school? What is the 6-year graduation rate out of a school? So you know, or at least have an expectation of what most graduates are doing out of certain institutions, so you're not taking out a massive amount of money for a school that may not have great job placement, may not have, may have defaulting on debt as a high issue.
But the problem is, as Michael said earlier, a lot of people, a lot of families who've thought that they had this all planned out before the Great Recession, their plans were basically, deep sixth now, and they're in a position that they have to take actions today, not tomorrow.
Right. And so I think taking actions today is looking at alternatives, right? Where do you want to end up 4 years from now, right? And how can you get there with the least cost? The junior college system in the state of Florida is incredible. The state college system is fantastic, right? A lot of programs, if you go 2 years at a state college, you can move into a 4-year college seamlessly, and that cost is incredibly low. Pell Grants for families who earn less than $60,000, right? Their child can qualify for a Pell Grant, which is just around $6,000. That doesn't have to be repaid. That's $6,000. That's tuition. That covers tuition in most Florida state system institutions. Not room and board, not fees, but tuition. Right? And that is a great program that a lot of families don't know, because they don't know you have to apply for FAFSA. They don't know about CSS profile and all these other pieces of paperwork that you have to fill out just to get the federal money.
Michael, you're an economist, but you also work at one of the largest universities in Florida. Is the school looking at or trying to weigh in with members of Congress in terms of doing something about student debt relief, in terms of giving students an ability to restructure their debt, or in some ways making college more affordable?
Sure, and it's mostly a discussion that doesn't necessarily take place in D.C. It's something that takes place in Tallahassee, because a lot of the funding for a lot of the state schools comes from the state. And so a lot of those negotiations and a lot of that discussion takes place in Tallahassee. And that is one of the things. I mean, I get several emails every single semester talking about this specific issue. What can we do as an institution to keep costs down, right? What can we do as instructors to keep costs down? And so there's two different ways that we can approach this. One is we can say, what can we do as an institution? And even going down to what can we do as an instructor? What can we do to keep costs down? But that's only really part of it. The other part is going to have to come from, well, what is Tallahassee going to do with funding?
And you don't know that year to year.
We don't. That changes every single year, and sometimes it changes month to month.
You know, I wanted to add, just the other day, Betsy DeVos, Department of Education, she had originally taken that position where she was going to crack down on all those people who have defaulted on their loans. And I think it was like yesterday or the day before, she announced that she's rethinking that position and going to establish some kind of program that will at least help on a nicer level get people to pay their money back.
That's very nice. But there's also been reporting there that the new administration, the Trump administration, wants to cut back in terms of federal student loans, which really, for families who are watching this right now, that is not good news.
Oh, it's not good news for me, because at a graduate level, I depend on those. You know, and it's nice to say, well, you should have planned better, but life doesn't work like that. And I would like to be able to see 25 years into the future so I know how to plan better. But
Jacob, I guess that's part of the problem. It's easy to plan, or it's a good idea to plan, but it's more difficult to plan when basically the bullseye keeps moving.
Absolutely. So college data is dead the minute it's published. It changes the next day. And so staying on top of that is a full-time job, right? And that's what college counselors do. But the problem is that most public schools in the state of Florida maybe have one college counselor for the entire public school. So you're talking 2,000, 3,000, maybe even 4,000 students who have one person whose full-time job is to look at that moving data and help all of those seniors and all of those juniors and all of those sophomores plan, right, and plan well for their college process.
Michael, I often ask, do other countries do this better?
Well, a little bit of kind of a tricky question. I mean, it depends upon what your definition of better is. I mean, certainly, at least in terms of student debt, you can look at a lot of countries in Europe, and you can look at a lot of the Scandinavian countries. A lot of the times, higher education is free. So if you're going to school for free, you're not graduating with any student debt, you're going to be in a lot better shape starting your life than you would be saddled with $30,000 in debt. So at least in terms of student debt, certainly.
Yeah, and I think, so quality of education, I would argue that America is still the front runner in higher education. Quality of education, research funding, research opportunities. But there are countries that even the cost for international students is sometimes less than state costs. Great Britain is a prime example of that. Canada has high quality higher education, and it's significantly less than the United States.
Right. Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll come back with final thoughts from our guests.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251. 800-628-1251. Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate,
or shop at Goodwill.
I am creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
Everything all right? Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery? Sure. We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
The official Suncoast Storm team at ABC7. We're here for you.
The looming student loan crisis. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And one area that we did not discuss, yes, Susan, was Bright Futures.
Yeah, Bright Futures was sold to the state of Florida as a reason for the lottery, and it's basically what put us over the edge, you know, for the good of the children. And yet, year after year after year, our state legislature seems to not only chip away at the amount that they award the parents, but also they increase the qualifications for it. So somebody who would have qualified for it 5-6 years ago probably won't qualify for it this year.
Michael, from what you're seeing, is this going to be a bubble like we saw the housing crisis burst a couple of years ago?
I wouldn't necessarily expect it to have the same kind of effect as a bubble. It's a little bit different than really kind of what a bubble is, but it's certainly something that if it's not addressed could certainly slow growth, could certainly slow consumption, and could be a big problem for the economy at large.
Jacob, from your perspective, is there anything out there, anything new that parents and students can basically hang their hat on that will at least make it easier to get the help they need at the lowest price possible?
So I think this is the best time in history as far as support, right, goes for your student and your family. Colleges have become very need aware of the issues and circumstances with debt, and so they have personnel to help. Contact the financial aid office at the school you're thinking of attending. Contact the admissions office. See what opportunities and availability there is for funding that you didn't even explore. That is your best plan of action.
Okay. Thank you all. And before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic on the firehouse in Venice and the poor working conditions there. Fire Station 1 in Venice is literally falling apart. A hole in the roof, mold. What's the plan? Where's the money? Here are some of the comments on the subject. Kevin says, build a new one. Don't they deserve it? Clint adds, a city full of millionaires and we can't even fund our fire department? Wow. Scott closes out our comments tonight by saying, gut the existing one, much cheaper, faster than architects, permits, studies, kickbacks required. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to all our guests tonight. Jacob Harding is the Director of College Counseling at the Out of Door Academy. Professor Michael Snipes is an economics instructor at USF. Sarasota Manatee and Susan Nylon is with the Nylon Report. Thanks for joining us tonight. And when we return, we'll have a final look at your weather plus an update on the investigation on any financial ties between President Trump and Russia. More on that coming up in your primetime headlines after the break.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. You're gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Go, okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Your primetime headlines are coming up right now, but let's get the final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Looking from the KC Key webcam out into the Gulf of Mexico. Had a lot of sunshine throughout most of the day, and then some clouds, a little bit of shower activity moved on through, but not much. But the clouds remaining kept things a bit cooler. As a result of that, the temperatures have dropped a little bit, and just enough rain, cool air has moved in. Some big storms along the East Coast. And it looks like to the north of us, some showers. That frontal boundary is still kind of hanging on here. Now this trough of low pressure, if you will eventually move out of here. It's now stretching all the way across the Gulf, bringing a lot of clouds and showers throughout that region. Right now, it appears that drier air will slip in tomorrow, even drier than it was today, and limit our rain chances. And that is something that's a little unusual for this time of year. Normally, you don't see that. We see pretty good chances for showers and storms every afternoon. The pattern's been kind of disruptive over the last 2.5 to almost 3 weeks. The forecast through this evening, not bad. 82 degrees, though. It will be warm, and it will be muggy, too, so warm and muggy through the evening. Heat index, not a big factor. 70 degrees on the dew point, though, and the winds are calm. The pressure 30-11, and that is high. That continues to rise ever so slightly. The high today was 91 degrees. At the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, 90 is our normal, and the record 98 set back in 1925. 75 was the low this morning. Temperatures statewide, 89 in Miami, now 88 in Key West. Temperature 76 in Orlando. And looks like the tropics are getting active right on cue. Here we are in August now, just the first week. And we're watching one area in particular that has a real good chance of developing over the next 5 days. This is a strong tropical wave, which has moved off the coast of Africa just a couple of days ago. It's now marching to the west. A lot of deep convection developing. No centralized area yet. And there's another area here in the eastern Caribbean. That one appears to be going to stay to our south. But the next 5 days, 70% chance of it developing as it makes its way to the west. This one has a 30% or 20% chance developing over the next 5 days. This is pretty much where it's going to be by Tuesday of next week, just to the east of the islands here, somewhere within that red cone. And then here, this one looks like it's going to pass across the Yucatan. A little less of a chance of developing because some drier air around. On top of that, stronger wind shear, and it's going to be going over and interacting with quite a bit of land area, it looks like, over the upcoming days. Well, the forecast for us calling for that trough of low pressure to eventually head off to the north. High pressure builds in, the drier air slips in, and that means not much rain chance for us here across much of the peninsula. Things will stay relatively dry, and then we'll see another frontal system coming down, at least hanging out over the northern Gulf of Mexico, and that will allow for a west wind. On Saturday, better chances for a few scattered showers around, but it doesn't appear that's going to be a washout. For boaters tomorrow, pretty good. Seas running 2 feet or less. Southeast winds turn to the southwest, and a light chop out there in the bays and inland waters. Tides upcoming. The next high tide will be just after midnight, and another high tide just around 10:30 tomorrow. Forecast tonight, a few scattered showers are possible. The rain chance very low. And then tomorrow, the rain chance at 10% for a few passing showers and storms. The extended forecast does call for better chances for rain as we head into early next week. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular.
Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand, with no surprises, and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received J.D. Power Awards for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 800-457-2317. Go online or visit a Target store today.
Hurricane season is here, and so is the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. This essential resource arms you with vital information you need to protect your family and property when severe weather threatens the Suncoast, including how to create your readiness plan and survival kit, shelter locations, what to do with pets, and important phone numbers. Visit mysuncoast.com and download the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Brought to you by Batteries Plus, the Florida Lottery, and Sarasota Glass and Mirror.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now.
Checking our primetime headlines, Special Counsel Robert Mueller will now convene a federal grand jury to look into links between the Trump campaign and Russia. As Pamela Brown reports, the grand jury will also investigate financial ties between President Trump and the Russians that go back years.
Does anyone really believe that story?
The Russia investigation continues to widen as federal investigators explore the potential financial ties of President Trump and associates to Russia. Sources tell CNN financial links could offer a more concrete path to any potential prosecution. For the president, that's going too far. He's warned that delving into his businesses is a, quote, violation. Trump has maintained there's no collusion and he has no financial ties to Russia.
And I can tell you, speaking for myself, I own nothing in Russia. I have no loans in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia.
Now, 1 year into this complex probe, the FBI has reviewed financial records related to the Trump Organization, the president himself, as well as his family members and campaign associates. CNN is told investigators have combed through the list of shell companies and buyers of Trump-branded real estate properties. They've scrutinized the roster of tenants at Trump Tower in Manhattan, reaching back several years. And officials familiar with the investigation tell CNN Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team has examined the backgrounds of Russian business associates connected to Trump.
From Moscow, it's Miss Universe 2013.
Dating back to the 2013 Miss Universe pageant he hosted in Moscow.
Thank you to Aras Agalarov and the focus group for their amazing hospitality.
CNN could not determine whether the review has included Trump's tax returns. But even investigative leads that have nothing to do with Russia but involve Trump associates are being referred to the special counsel to encourage subjects of the investigation to cooperate.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt.
President Trump, keenly aware of the increased financial focus, regularly denounces the investigation.
Russia is fake news. This is fake news put out by the media.
Trump's team seeking to limit Mueller's investigation.
The president's point is that he doesn't want the special counsel to move beyond
the scope and outside of its mission. And the president's been very clear, as have his accountants and team, that he has no financial dealings with Russia. And so I think we've been extremely clear on that.
CNN has learned new details about how Mueller is running his special counsel team. More than 36 attorneys, FBI agents, and support staff, experts in investigating fraud and financial crimes, broken into groups focused separately on collusion and obstruction of justice. There is also focus on targets like Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, and General Michael Flynn, his fired national security advisor. CNN has learned that investigators became more suspicious of Manafort when they turned up intercepted communications that U.S. intelligence agencies collected among suspected Russian operatives, discussing their efforts to work with Manafort to coordinate information that could hurt Hillary Clinton's bid for the White House, according to U.S. officials. In Flynn's case, the focus is now on his lobbying work for the Turkish government, which he failed to initially disclose as required by law. While both men deny any wrongdoing, the approach to the Manafort and Flynn probes may offer a template for how the focus by investigators on possible financial crimes could help gain leverage and cooperation in the investigation.
President Trump is about to leave on vacation, but not before announcing efforts to make it easier for veterans to get medical care. The president announcing a new website for vets with his VA secretary this afternoon. The site would allow veterans to compare wait times as well as the quality of care at VA facilities and other hospitals.
These accomplishments are only the beginning. We will not rest until all of America's great veterans can receive the care they so richly deserve. Tremendous progress has been made in a short period of time. We've only been here 6 months.
The website will also assist veterans in mental health care services and suicide prevention, as well as allow them to use mobile devices to make and manage VA doctor appointments. The Massachusetts woman who urged her boyfriend through calls and text messages to commit suicide is being sentenced to 15 months in prison. Michelle Carter's former boyfriend, Conrad Roy, was found dead from carbon monoxide poisoning in 2014. He was 18 at the time, and Carter was 17. Carter appeared to be close to tears before the sentencing. Both of the victim's father and the sister gave emotional statements before she was sentenced. An update on the deadly explosion in Minneapolis that leveled part of a school as summer programs were underway. 2 staffers were killed and several others injured. The victims have been identified as an 81-year-old janitor at the school and a receptionist. 9 people were taken to the hospital. 3 remain hospitalized. 1 remains in critical condition. And that's all the time we have. I'm Alan Cohn. Good night.